Hey YouTube, how's it going? I had a friend request an episode, a topic, which by the way I definitely am open to suggestions. The reason I don't post as much as I'd like to is because I don't have that many ideas, which is sad, I know, but what can you do? I've got so many ideas for writing, but none for vlogging, so. At any rate, my friend Elizabeth requested a vlog, so here it is. It was a hard question though that she asked me. She said, what is the worst book you've ever read? Oh god, the worst book I've ever read? Now, I can think of a lot of mediocre books that I've read. If you've watched many episodes of Keps, then you should know that I am a voracious reader. I'm an English major, so I'm reading all the time for class, for fun. I read whatever I can get my hands on. Road signs and newspapers and whatever, you know. Thinking about trying to catalog all of the books in my head that I've ever read is difficult enough, but trying to think, well, which ones were really bad that stands out in my mind is a much more difficult task. Then again, this is coming from someone who doesn't even have a favorite book. I honestly could not tell you which book out of all of the books I've read is my favorite because I like so many of them. I'm definitely not much of a critic. Like going to the movies, for example, I can maybe think of 2 occasions where I've gone to a movie and then afterwards thought, wow, that was a really bad movie. I'm just not very critical of things, I guess. I don't know. But there have been, like I said, some books that I've read that I've just gotten finished with and thought, not so much, no thanks. The most recent book that I've read that I didn't really care for, I feel bad because it's one of my friend's favorites. It's called, I've actually got a copy of it with me, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert M. Pirsig. It's an inquiry into values. I guess I thought it was going to be more story and less Zen because it was pretty much a book on philosophy, which I'll admit is not my forte. So I got through it. I powered through all 406 pages. It took me like a week and a half, which is pretty long for me. But I never really got into it. When it was like the actual story of them, it's about a father and son biking, or not biking, I mean cycling, like motorcycling across the country. And when it gets into their story, I found it really interesting. But when it's just like, and this is philosophy, blah, 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 it just kind of, it lost me. Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance was not the first book that popped into my head, though. The first one that popped in my head probably got in there because a friend, the girl who requested this video actually, has been writing columns, and one of them, she mentioned this book, and it just made me think, oh yeah, I really, 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 really didn't like that book. And that would be Walden by Thoreau. Now I'm afraid I'm going to have people yelling at me and telling me how dumb I am because I didn't like Thoreau. But I'm sticking to my guns. I really did not like Walden. For those of you who haven't read it, I would recommend giving it a try. I had to read it for a class on transcendentalism, which was probably one of the most difficult classes I've ever taken. It's I still don't even really know what transcendentalism is, I'm afraid to say. It was a very difficult class, not really my kind of thing. American literature, it's an American movement. But Thoreau wrote Walden, and Walden is about, it's about a lake called Walden Lake, pond I guess. I think it's a pond, not a lake. And about how Thoreau lived in the woods near Walden and lived. I know what you're thinking. Hey, that's a terrible description of a book. That's because it was a terrible book. It wasn't a terrible book, that's a lie. But nothing happens. The dude's sitting out in his cabin, and there's nature. And he goes on for pages and pages and pages describing nature and how wonderful it is, and how there's nature, and there's a lake, and birds and trees. Oh, so many trees, and there's no people out there, and here's his daily routine and what he does every day, and oh, it's getting cold out, so he's going to go out in the snow, and it's, I don't know. I found it to be terribly boring. What kills me about it, though, is that I am indebted to Thoreau for writing Walden because I only read Walden for extra credit, and that extra credit is what got me the B- I got in that class. I think I got a B-. I remember being very sad because I couldn't do any better than that, but if he hadn't written that and we hadn't been required to read it for extra credit, it wasn't even required, it had not been offered as extra credit reading, I might have gotten a C+ in that class, or scarier. So I can't even truly hate him because I feel like I have to be a little indebted to him. It kind of stinks. At any rate, other books I don't like. I never, as much as I love Tolkien, I could never get through the Silmarillion. I tried. I got through about 100 pages before I finally had to call it quits because I just couldn't get any further. So there's that. Same thing with Ulysses. I try to give a book at least 100 pages, but again with Ulysses, I got about 100 pages in. I found that I was falling asleep every paragraph, like legit. I would try to read it, and I would find myself sleeping. So I figured it either wasn't a good time to read it or whatever, so I gave up on that one too. And I'm always a little sad when I have to give up on a book because, I mean, I'd like to at least be able to finish it, whether it's good or bad, but Silmarillion and Ulysses I couldn't finish. Despite books like these, I am still reading. Obviously, I showed you my stack of books for the summer. It's a lot bigger than that, actually. I haven't actually started on any of them. Like this one was just on my to-read list already. It's not required for my thesis, so I've got a lot of reading to do still, but I was playing a video game. So now that I've finished it, though, I just finished it, now I can actually get started on my reading, which is definitely going to be a good thing. All I can hope is that I don't have to add to this list with any of the books I've chosen to read for what I have to write a 40-page story about, right? Right. My name is Keps, and I approve this message.